And I'm sure people watching this may have, and I expect the libraries all have them.
The libraries do, and there's a whole stack of them at Borders. Every time I go in, I think, look at all those books, I wrote them.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Right now I'm at work on my 5th, which will be another thriller. Again, set in New York, because I love it there so much.
You're from there?
Yeah, I'm from, I grew up in Bayside, Queens half
Right.
the time, Comac, Long Island the other
Got it.
half.
Yeah.
So partly the books are in New York, partly they're in East Hampton, Long
And your daughter's
Island.
at St. Paul's?
Yes, she's in 3rd grade.
Wow.
Hello, Miss Leon's
Oh,
class.
yes. Well, you know, had you not suddenly have become a widow 7.5 years ago, do you think you would be this author now?
No, I don't. I really don't. You know, we had such a good life, and
Of course.
I was a stay-at-home mom.
Sure.
I always say one day the biggest problem I had was I didn't like the color they painted the dining room. It wasn't like the exact shade I thought it would be. That was my big problem. And then the next week you're like, whoa, whose life is this? But I think God opens up the next path, you know. If my husband was with me, I'm sure I'd just be busy like everybody else. And I was working part-time. I had a PR consultancy. I moved here truthfully, hoping I would do part-time PR for Northwest or Greenfield Village, which I think is like a national treasure that
is.
nobody knows about.
It is, yes.
I wanted to just make everyone in the whole world aware of it.
Yes.
So that was our plan, and you know, God had other plans for me, and so far so good. I love this. I love my new job, and it works well for me now.
You'd be. This is Margaret Carroll, a well-known author now, Grosse Pointe individual. You certainly would be a person who could do great things aside from being an author. For individuals in some support groups, someplace, I don't know, of individuals, men and women who have lost spouses, because that's got to be, I mean, I've talked to a number of individuals in those capacities, and it's got to be devastating to you were young, of course, but even older people. And I'm sure you've experienced some of these young widows now, have you not?
I have. There's a wonderful bereavement group at St. Paul on the Lake
Good.
that Sandy Fisher runs.
Great.
And I attended those meetings and heard just so many wonderful, wonderful things that I could think about. And you know, I went to other bereavement groups. There's one called New Hope that is based out of, I think, Southfield. And they did a program through it at Grosse Pointe Memorial Church here, I believe it was. It's wonderful. I mean, there's so much support out there. It's a terrible, terrible thing for anyone to go through at any age. But I would say when you're able to get off the couch, go to a bereavement group and just meet other people and see other people who've come out the other end.
Yeah.
You know, because you need to know there's a
Sure.
light at the end of the tunnel.
Not to be facetious in any fashion, but it's kind of like Woody Allen's philosophy of life, and which was, all you have to do in life is show up.
I think of Woody Allen all the time.
I don't, but I mean, I always get a big kick out of that, because that's pretty important, just to be there.
It is, and because this is Grosse Pointe, I have to say this, because I know half the people watching this are working on books. You go somewhere else and people think, oh, you're a writer. You talk to a group in Grosse Pointe,
Yes.
I'd say half the people are working on their own books. The biggest thing, like Woody Allen would say, finish the book.
Finish the book.
Finish the book. Just write it through all the way to the end, and I think you'll probably hit it out of the ballpark if you just do that. Wow. Yeah,
Wow,
80% of life is just showing
So
up.
this is Margaret Carroll, a very well-known author now, Grosse Pointe person, and great success. And you've written 7 books, did you say?
No, I have written 4,
4
and
books.
I'm working on my 5th novel right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't get up at 4 in the morning anymore. That's another good thing anybody going through bereavement needs to know. You do sleep through the night again. You do get back to normal.
What's singularly the biggest thing that you or anybody else wanting to write a book, being an author, What is the singularly the most important thing in that regard? Is it just sitting down and doing it? What
Yeah,
is it? Is
it
that what
is. Glue. That's what they say, glue. Glue your butt to the chair. Just sit in the chair. Just sit in the chair every day for a year or 2 years and write the book start to finish. That was the thing. I think for 20 years, I always dabbled because like I said, I always wanted to write fiction. And I'd write a scene, and when I lived in Manhattan, it was terrific. I could go to all these fiction workshops, and you'd workshop your scenes, and it was great. But I never finished it. You'd be so in love with this one thing or the turn of a phrase, and you're not going to get anywhere with that. You're really
Wow.
not. Everybody in New York was doing the artist's way. This spiritual journey workbook thing. Write the book. Finish the book. And then you can get an agent. Like all kinds of things will happen. So for me, I really had to give myself permission to just write through the icky parts. To me, writing a book is like making meatloaf. I have no idea what this is going to seem like on camera, but I don't like getting my hands dirty. I was not a kid that played in mud. I didn't like stuff like that. To me, I hate to make meatloaf because I hate to stick my hands in. Writing a book, stick your hands in, get dirty, just go through it. Write the parts you don't even want to write. Just get through it, and then when you're done, you could go back and fix them.
Been terrific having you here, I tell you.
Thank you.
I love you. This is Margaret Carroll, the very well-known author. Buy her books. You're doing terrific.
Thank
young woman.
you.
Terrific.
Thanks, John. Thanks
Okay.
for having me.
No problem.